Just one.
Boom! And welcome to the Big Honker Podcast, brought to you by Pacific Calls. I'm Jeff Stanfield with the world famous Andy Shaver.
BA, let's call. Spike Belly call. PCD. Only 3 calls you need.
It's a good looking new vest you're wearing there.
This is old, Jeff. I've
That's
had
the
this
old
a while.
one. Looks good on you.
Well, fuck, you put a dog turd on me and it'd look all right.
Yeah, that's what they say. That's what they always say. Wearing my new shin today too again. It's nice. It's 45 degrees this morning.
Yep.
It's gonna be a big balmy freaking 80 degrees again tomorrow. I am so sick and tired of this. They call it Indian summer, I guess.
Yeah, that's racist.
Okay, Native American summer. I don't give 2 shits. They're fucking Indians in my book. We played Cowboys and Indians. John Wayne shot Indians or Indians.
Here he goes, Jack.
Get over this
shit. Put a quarter in him.
Slots, not...
Yeah, I'll wait a half hour. I know how these go.
Slots, not dots, buddy. With us today, our good friend, Mr. Jack Zimmerman. Wheels, how are you, my friend?
Good. How you guys doing?
Do you know I got a bad... someone got on to me for calling you Wheels at Delta?
What?
Yeah.
Why? Why do they care what you call me?
No.
If I got a problem with it, I'll
Yeah,
deal
that's
with
what
it.
I said. You know, it's a fuck. He's like, oh, you should. That's disrespectful. Then I've got another friend of mine that has a disease where he falls over all the time. I don't know what does he have.
Shit, I don't know who you're talking about.
Steve's buddy. Yeah, it comes up here all the old
Like
man.
it's so common, Andy, on the tip of your
Bob
tongue.
leg.
I don't know what he's got.
He's got some disease. He wobbles, so he has a walker. So he sits in his walker at his booth at Delta. And I was like, look at that old handicapped motherfucker over there in that damn chair or some shit. And he's like, hey, how you doing? Well, people around me were like, oh my God.
Oh, that's funny.
People-
No, it's when you used to get shot at, being called Wheels doesn't seem all that bad,
right?
Well, I've seen you get around in that son of a bitch. You get around better with anybody with legs has.
Yeah.
The fucker can.
Oh man, I don't even get winded most of the time.
But you're exactly right. Like, if you got a problem with it, like, you'll handle it. You don't need a fucking babysitter to fight your battles.
Yeah. Well,
That was one of my things when I first got hurt. I felt like everybody was like trying to protect me big
Yeah.
time. You know what I mean? Like from whatever angle you could imagine. And like, there's things that people would get offended about that I wasn't even sure why they were offended because I wasn't offended, and things that would just upset people that would like, they couldn't get in the bathroom at some place or something like that. And people go, how could it even be like this still? And it's just like, move on. Who cares? Like, what are you going to do? You're really going to let this ruin your day? People just get so worked up.
Yeah.
you got such a great attitude about it though. And that makes a lot of things. I've got a couple of friends that are in that situation. We've got a young lady that worked here that's in a wheelchair and she's paralyzed from her neck down, and she would love to be where you're at. But her attitude is wonderful. Mm-hmm. She's got the greatest attitude in the world and makes me feel good that people in y'all situations are as happy as y'all are and stuff. And when you told me the story about you going to buy the shoes at fucking Foot Locker, made me smile and laugh.
Yeah, for a kid. Yeah. Yeah, it's like my kid, he loves shoes, and I think it's pretty cool. He enjoys it. He takes care of them. I think it's teach him a little bit of responsibility. He appreciates something that he has. So I don't mind buying him some shoes every now and then. So I was actually going past like a Nike outlet store, and I was like, oh, I should swing in there and see what they got in there, and for these cool pair of shoes or whatever. And I'm like, hey, do you got any 10.5s, 11s around here somewhere? And she like kind of looks at me, and I was like, I'm not delusional. They're for my son.
Oh, that's great.
What?
No, but like when I woke up in the hospital, that was when like, reality just kind of hits you in the face, and like you figure out really quick what's important and what you need to do. And I couldn't take a drink of water. I couldn't itch my nose. I didn't have any hands, I had nothing. I couldn't brush my own teeth. I couldn't feed myself. I couldn't do anything. And you really learn patience in those moments, and you just like everything that I went through in the hospital, I felt like has helped get me to where I am today. It was like all the lessons I learned going through that, and like the gratitude you have for everything. So I think that's also why it's so easy to like brush things off every day and not let things bother you so much.
I heard somebody talking the other day. I can't remember who it was, but they said, are you clonable? Is the way that you conduct business, is your attitude, just your day-to-day life, the way you go about handling just everything. Are you a clonable person? Would the world be better if there were 5 or 10 of you or 50 of you? And I always think like to your attitude and just the way that you're always positive, you're always upbeat, nothing really gets you down. And like, you're one of those people that this world would be a whole lot better if there were 50 Jack Zimmermans. out there?
The honest to God truth is your attitude is not something that just happens. Like people are like, oh, that person's just always been like that. Well, that's their choice, you know? It's super easy. Like I literally take, like, it seems to some people would never take it serious and they would think it's dumb or whatever, but there's drills out there that you can do where you write down 10 great things that happened today and then really write down the things that didn't go right today on the other side. And then you look at that and then that actually gives you a visual of like, hey, I did have a good day. I accomplished these things, you know, like I have a list that I have every day, a running list, you know, on my notes, you know, like sometimes when you hit them, they disappear. Mine don't disappear because I want to see everything that I accomplished today. And then I'll erase them at the end of the day, you know, but it's honestly making that choice of whenever you feel yourself getting upset or worked up or whatever, stopping, taking a deep breath and just really adjusting your attitude. Like, I'm not going to let this ruin my day. I'm going to push through this. And like, this is ridiculous to get worked up over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think about that a lot, especially like with where we are as a country right now, like with the presidential election coming up. It's like all that I've got one vote. I'm going to cast that vote in November. And that's all I can do. You know, I can come on here and kind of, you know, outline, you know, why, you know, back up the reason that I'm voting the way that I am. But past that, like, it does me no good to be pissed off at the world and, you know, have it ruin my evening or be a shitty husband or a shitty father because of something that's totally out of my control.
Yeah. Yeah. There's only really one thing that really gets me worked up over that whole thing, honestly, is the pullout of Afghanistan, the way that was handled. Yeah. That one gets under my skin a little bit. And the thing that really upsets me now is the amount of money that we're still giving to the Taliban today.
Oh, it's stupid.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's like $2.5 billion in like the last 2 years we've given the Taliban and like taxpayer money. And like, that's one of the things that really gets under my skin. It's like the way we left there was ridiculous. Nobody had been hurt, wounded, or killed in so long. We were spending so little money in comparison. That $2.5 billion could have kept how many troops there and paid them well to be there and just hold the land. And now there's 21 different terrorist organizations training in Afghanistan right now. You know, they're bordering Iran. You know, that there's a partnership going on there between them. You know, there's just so many things that could have been stopped. And our presence just there in the Middle East was enough to keep things much more stable. And we still have bases in South Korea. We still have bases in Germany. Like, we have these places that we've went and had to stay there until things got better. We have ports in Japan, like, you know.
Well, and now we see these 2 hurricanes that hit the coast, and there's no money for those people. We got Americans that are without a home, and we'll give you $750. You sent billions to the Ukraine. You spent billions to Ukraine. You're funding the Taliban still, and we don't have any money left over to help these people that are without a house.
And it's not like the Taliban is trying to put a front up so we can give them money for humanitarian aid either. They are full blown like, hey, we are the Taliban. We ran you out of our country. And the thing is that they didn't run us out of that country. If you would have allowed us to do our job in the first place and go do it the way we wanted to do it, it would have been over real quick, you know, but there's too much politics involved. And the problem is the people making those decisions are not in any harm's way or risk or anything else. And them playing politics gets people killed. You know?
I think to be president, it should be mandatory military service.
Nah, you can't do that.
Why?
You can't do that. I'm not disagreeing.
I think it should be mandatory. I think if
you want to be president, you're not willing to give 2 years of your country to service. I'm not. I mean, that doesn't seem like a big ask.
Right. No. I think it would put the concept of going to war. It would be more real to you if you've actually had some skin in the game, rather than we'll send all these other kids to do the bidding.
Okay.
I just know that if I was sitting in an office in Washington D.C. and I had a clicker to vote and a vote came up to go to war, I think people would be surprised my thoughts on that. You know, I'm the last one that wants to go to war, but if you're going to go to war, you better send them to win and take whatever you're going to get. And if you take that land, you better stake your flag on it, because that's the last time I would never send our kids to go anywhere else and not take the ground and keep the ground where we talk.
I agree with everything y'all said, except for the president should have to serve, unless unless every member of Congress and everyone that runs for Senate also.
Oh, I'd be fucking fine for that too.
Then I would be all for that. Because
if you're going to be an elected official,
that you should be, if you're going to serve as a federal, in a federal capacity as a senator or a congressman, president, vice president, whatever, you should serve. I got no problem with that, but we're going to make it across the board. It's not 100%. Just going to be the president, because I've got a kid in the Army and I don't want him getting sent to do some stupid ass shit. And I'm like you, if we're going to go to war, by God, let them go to war like we did in World War II, where we didn't have all these rules of engagement. If you're going to go over and take, let's say we're going to go get Bangladesh, go in there and take fucking Bangladesh. And take that motherfucker and it's ours. We make it the 51st state or whatever it's going to be. But quit doing this policing in the world shit and getting our kids killed with these stupid freaking rules, and quit sending all our money. I'm tired of sending money to other countries. All countries, not just the ones in the Middle East. I mean fucking everywhere. We send money to England. We send money to China. We send money to Terra del Fuego in Argentina. We send money everywhere, and I'm sick of it. I mean, I'm absolutely fed up with it. And I think most American taxpayers are sick of this shit. And just like yesterday, Kamala promised to build 3 million homes. Well, who's going to pay for them? Mm-hmm. We are. You know, I don't know anybody that's homeless right now personally that I know of. I'm sure I probably have ran across someone, but a lot of people that are homeless are there because of bad choices they've made in their own life. Now, that single mom or dad out there with 2 kids that's having to live in a car and he's working and stuff all the time, I got no problem helping them out. But I'm sick and tired of driving by government housing and seeing able-bodied people sitting in the front yard drinking Budweisers while everybody else is going to work all the time.
Yep. I mean, it's just...
There's a lot of silence there, but...
Well, I mean, we all agree with you.
No.
We totally misappropriated any money that we've had.
Yes, all the time.
I mean, and now... they're saying that the interest that we're paying on the money that we owe is going to surpass what we actually owe soon. And it's a fucked up thing. But I agree. You made my argument better. If you're going to serve in Congress or the presidency.
Yeah, I'm for everybody, not just the president.
Right.
Everybody should serve.
Well, it would make it real.
When's the last president we had that served? George W. Bush was in the Air National Guard, and I'm sure it was a position that he was because of his dad.
Oh,
but
HW?
George W. George H. fought in World War II.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
No, Gerald Ford didn't fight. John F. Kennedy served.
You're asking the last one.
Oh,
HW.
No, George W. George W. served. George W. was in the Air National Guard or something. John McCain served. He blew up our own fucking ship.
I can look it up.
He did. Did you not? Have you never seen that story? He was dicking around on an aircraft carrier doing something and dropped a fucking missile or bomb on our own damn deal and killed some kids. And then they put him on a plane and flew his ass back. And then they elected him and act like he's some kind of fucking hero.
I did not hear that.
Oh, yeah. That's a pretty well-known fact that the media doesn't want no one to know. Yeah, no. John McCain blew up our own aircraft carrier.
Well,
I think he was dicking around and shot a missile and it hit the ship or some shit. I can't remember, but he killed a bunch of kids. It was bad.
You'll have that.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
You'll have that, I guess.
Outside of that, though, I mean, the things he was willing to do and the skill he did them with, that was pretty impressive.
But we don't have I bet George H. is the last actual person that probably served military that actually served and wasn't in an Air National Guard or something, but was actually in the military.
He was one of...
If I could change one thing at the VA, it would be if you have a Purple Heart, you get an automatic front of the line for the next appointment. You know what I mean?
That'd be cool, right?
VAs.
I mean, it doesn't make sense. I mean, the guys the VA is so plugged up with people that just got out of service and didn't take care of themselves, you know, and now they have all these health issues and stuff, and they take all the appointments up, and then the guys that actually were wounded in combat, which the VA was originally built for, you know, have to wait months for the next appointment.
If you served in our country and you fought for our country or you did whatever you did for our country, you should be able to go to any doctor in the United States and get help. You shouldn't have to go to Big Spring from Knox City, which is 2.5 hours away, to go to a VA hospital. You should be able to go to any hospital and have a card that's 100% covered to take care of your medical needs.
The greatest thing that ever has happened here in Minnesota, and this needs to happen everywhere, is it's called the Magnus Foundation, and everybody should look it up, sign up, pay your $20 a month or whatever it is. It's not much to take care of a veteran. There's a retired 5th group surgeon, and he got out of the Army, got all his credentials, became a doctor because he was essentially a doctor in the military, you know, already. He had all the classes. He just had to pass a few tests. When they get out and they can be a doctor, essentially. That's how high they get trained. And he moved home, and his family left him this farm and he's turned it into a clinic. And I go there all the time. It's from spiritual. They have a physical therapist there. They have like a mental therapist. They have doc there, takes care of everybody. It's 100% free to the veterans. It doesn't feel like a hospital. It's like you sit in the living room where you're in there's a library in there that you can just hang out in. It's just the greatest thing in the world. It's the way that veterans healthcare should be taken care of. It feels like old school medicine when like the doctor would come to your house essentially, but doc can do everything, just about anything there. And, it's just, it just gives us a place that I can really go and get true healthcare whenever I need it. I can text my doctor.
What was the name of that?
The Magnus Foundation.
Magnus Foundation.
Yeah.
It's only in Minnesota.
Yeah. He's just got the clinic there, but he would love to take the thing nationwide, if it was there, but it takes a lot to take care of, just healthcare wise, but it's not like there's any inflated costs in anything he's doing. He buys everything at cost and he administers it to the veteran for free. You know what I mean? So so when you donate to stuff like this, you're literally taking care of veterans in the best way possible. It's just $20 a month is what he can legitimately take care of, or whatever it is, can legitimately take care of a veteran's healthcare for an entire year, and it just shows how cheap medicine could be if we did it right.
Yeah. There's a guy on TikTok, he's a pharmacist in Houston, and he does not do anything with insurance. He is cost plus $10. And that's all anybody can walk in there and get whatever medicine that they're going to need. But and he'll do like a price comparison. Like this costs $1,500 a month if we go through insurance. It's $125 if you come to me, self-pay, and that's cost plus $10. But he's like, these companies, it goes through insurance and they jack the price up.
Yeah, everybody's got to get their cut.
Yeah, right. So you mentioned people transitioning out of the military. Do you ever talk to anybody that is retiring or going into that next phase of their life? Because that's got to be so hard, because everything was so regimented while you were in. You knew where to be, when to be, how to be. And then that is on Monday, and then you retire Tuesday, or you get out, and then it's just, you got nothing anymore. Or not nothing, but you just got no structure anymore.
Yeah. So this last weekend, or this last week, I guess, or whatever, I went out there Sunday, was out there Monday, Tuesday, was out in LA with the Carrington Foundation. And it's run by Bruce and Rosemary. And they are an incredible foundation. I think they've raised $26.5 million before this year to go to veterans causes. And there's really no administrative cost. It directly goes to veterans and supports them. But their new initiative is called the Honor Foundation. And it used to be available just to special operations guys. But now they're making it available to any veteran that's transitioning out of the military. And the thing is when you're in the military, you think you know everything and you think you got everything figured out and you know what you're going to do. And I was the same guy, when I was getting out, I had to go through this whole process and tell them what my plans were when I was getting out. And, they try to help you with those things, but you're really just trying to get out of the military and you're just going to, I'll figure it all out when I get out of here. No problem. And then you get out of there and you're pretty lost, I think thankfully for me, one thing is that I was a civilian before I joined the military for a few years. When I got out of high school, I didn't just go right into the military. I lived on my own. I paid my own bills. I did those things. So I had a bit of that. I had some of those skills already built, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Cause it's gotta be a mind fuck, right?
Yeah. So then you get out and I think I know what I'm going to do. And then you get home and you're like, yeah, I'm not going back to Andy, me and my personality and how much I have a big personality. I love talking to people, this and that. Andy, I signed up to go to be an accountant. I mean, that's how I was going to go back to school to be an accountant. Like, what? You know what I mean? That's not me,
right.
And some guys like, well, you can come broker insurance for me and you don't have to go to school. It's just like a 2-week class or whatever. And I was like, oh, that sounds way better than going to college. So then I did that. And then I'm sitting in an office going, what am I doing? Like, this is not who I am, And then all of a sudden I'm training gun dogs and I got my own little gun dog kennel going here and loving every minute of it, except for the fact of whenever I want to take off and go do something, then I got all these dogs here that that's not fair to the customer that I'm not training. It's not fair to me because these dogs, it's not for the dog, and it's like, well, I don't think I really want to do this, anymore. And it's easy because at the end of the season, when everybody's dogs go to hunt that year, then you're just don't take on any more dogs and you're done, and that's what I did, and it just kind of kept going through all these things, you know. Then I got into the politics stuff, and I was like, thought I really liked it because I like the strategizing and this and that, and everybody's stabbing everybody in the back, and it's just like, I don't even want to be here. Like, get me out of here, you know. Until I finally found my thing with motivational speaking and writing, and what I've that was, thank God I fell into that, and you know, COVID kind of knocked me off my horse there a little bit, but as soon as I started speaking and sharing my story and writing about it and stuff, you know, it really, for me, it really gave me a purpose again in life. And I was like, all right, now I know where I want to go. I have direction, and now I just have to start hammering every day until I get to where I want to be.
Yeah. It's just using the same discipline that you learned in the military, just in a different way. You know what I mean? But
yeah, absolutely. And if we learned anything in the military, it's discipline, because the minute you become undisciplined, that's when people get hurt and killed, you know?
Mm-hmm. And I mean, these kids are so young whenever they join, and then you're in the military, say 20 to 40 or whatever, if you get your 20 years.
Yeah.
Those are your formative years of, you know, being a human being and being out in the world. And when that's taken away from you, like, that was everything. That was your entire identity, and it's gone.
And being 35 years old now, you know, I'd be retiring in 6 years, whatever here. And I feel like I'm in my prime. I couldn't be retiring now.
Right.
Like, I just couldn't just go chill out and hang out. And you still have all this drive, you have all this motivation, but you don't even know which direction to put it in, you know? And the thought of, like, going back to school and getting an education and all of that sounds really cool until you're sitting in class with a bunch of 18-year-old kids and you're like, get me out of here.
Right. Yeah.
And people in the military can't afford to retire at their 20-year mark. A person in town I know, her son just retired from the Army. He spent 20 years. He can't afford to retire. The retirement's is not enough to pay his bills. And that's a shame. You served 20 years for our country. You ought to be able to retire at 100% pay with your BAH. I mean, you put in 20 years of your life for our country, and we ought to be able to pay you that. If we can spend $3 billion giving it to some drug king in some South American or African nation to, you know, we can pay our military guys that put their 20 years in.
Yeah. But like we said too, you're getting out at 40. You still have another 20 years to go have a whole nother career. And I hope during that time you're putting some money for yourself away too. I mean,
well, that's,
you know, you should be doing that too, you know?
Right. But you still should have that opportunity. If you want to play golf and drink Budweiser and get fat, then do it. But you spent 20 years of your life. If you want to get that full retirement and still make another money, you should be able to. It's like Social Security. We shouldn't make people not be able to work, only work so many and make so much money a year because they're on Social Security. That's their money. They ought to be able to do whatever they want to. And you should be able to at 40 go work if you want to. But if you want to stay home and do nothing, you should be able to have that opportunity financially for giving 20 years to our country.
No, I agree.
You don't get 100% at 20 years?
I don't know.
No,
I don't know.
I don't
Heck,
think
I was
so.
only in for 18 months when I got hit. I wasn't thinking about that 20.
Well, here's the thing. When you retired at 20, he retired at 20, and I don't think it's 100%. I don't know for sure, but you don't get your BAH anymore, which is your off-house living. So if they were giving him an extra $1,500 a month for his living expenses off base, he don't get that anymore. Mm-hmm. And I think you should get that plus your 20 years. Now, you can't move to New York City and live in Manhattan and get a $7,000 a month BAH, but wherever you retire from, you should be able to get that for the rest of your life. That's just the way I feel. We should take care of our military better. By God, I promise you, if you retire as a senator after one term or two terms, you get full 100% pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's brutal, you know, sometimes, you know, and these guys, they get done after 20 years and you're pretty banged up too, you know, I mean, especially if you've been down a couple of deployments and, you know, you're walking around all the time with all the gear on, your knees are hurting, you know, some guys are jumping out of planes all the time, you know, that's not easy on your back and your knees and everything else, you know, it's just, takes a toll on a guy, you know.
And I think if you get deployed, you should get deployment pay for the rest of your career, whether you're deployed or not, and your retirement. I don't think we should give you a bonus for going to war, then take it away when you come home. Because you get paid combat pay. Don't you get paid extra when you go overseas?
Yeah, it's like $75 or something a month.
Is that what it is? Seriously?
I don't know. I think it was like 125. I don't know. It wasn't much.
That's terrible.
Well, hell, damn near double my play though. Hey, honestly, just them giving me a machine gun and just asking me how much ammo I needed and as many grenades as I wanted and helicopters to ride around in and planes to jump out of. You didn't even have to really pay me. I mean, I was having the best time of my life.
That's what everybody I know that says it's gone over there says how much they enjoy. The young guys, older guys probably not as much. I bet throwing a hand grenade is fun as hell. I would love to do that.
Yeah, it's the best when you get to cook them off a little bit too. It just adds a little excitement to it because you don't want to throw it in the door too soon.
What do you mean cook it? Like hold it in your hand without the pin?
Well, because it's got a 5-second delay. If you just pull the pin and whip it in the room, it's got time to come back out. So you got to cook it off a little bit.
So you're just hoping that the timer's right. 1 Mississippi.
Yeah, you just got to do the Mississippi's right in your head and get rid of it in time. You know.
You ever?
How many Mississippis did you hold it for?
1, 2. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think it's 5 minutes. I got a 5-second delay on it. So.
What did you ever get to shoot a bazooka?
Oh yeah, we had so our company, or especially our platoon, we had some pretty wild times, and we shot it. We brought everything. We shot everything. You know, we had a good time, and we shoot small Ds, AT-4s. Those are all shoulder fire rockets. You know, they're all one and dones. You know, we'd have ridiculous, the grenades you launch out of your gun. We'd just keep lobbing them all the time. I'd go out with 1,200 rounds at a time. I'd usually come home with about 200. I mean, you're going to start a fight with us. You're going to get everything we got. And we don't care, and we're here to win. That's rule number one in gunfighting, right? Win. And, we shot everything. We had an automatic grenade launcher at our entrance point at our cop. The last one that we built, Mark 19. That thing just sit there and dump grenades out. It's just it's some pretty cool stuff.
When you shoot those, I call it a bazooka. I don't know what it's called. The anti-tank rocket launcher thingy. Once you shoot it, that tube, do you just throw that tube away and leave it and go pick something else up, or do they recycle those things? I'm not trying to sound like a greenie. I'm just curious.
One and done.
Okay, so they reuse them again though?
Oh, I don't know what they do with them. I really don't even know. We just shoot them. We always take them with us because you don't want that. You don't want to leave nothing out there because everything could get turned back into something else that we use against you.
Yeah. How much did that saw? You ran the saw. How much did that weigh?
Yeah. Shoot, I don't even know. Maybe 12 pounds or something like that.
And then you got all the ammo. Is that on you?
Plus your body armor, plus water. You take like 1.5 gallons, 2 gallons of water on your back.
Okay, that's 10 pounds.
And and then you have your first aid kit, your night vision. I never really left without some snacks. Got to have something with you out there. Can of dip. Just the essentials.
And you're just running around the desert with all this shit strapped onto you.
Yeah, having the best time of your life. Laughing with your buddies. It gets pretty dark out there sometimes. But my favorite times on the battlefield is when you had them damn near moments. When something would just about get us, and then you looked at each other with that shit-eating grin on your face, and it's just like, we made her through another one. It's just those are my favorite moments over there were the damn nears because it's just so exciting. If you feel so alive, and it's just a thrill, and maybe we're sick in the head or whatever, but being an American soldier and being on the battfield is the best feeling in the world.
What was your first time in combat like? Like when shit?
Don't really remember much of it, honestly. That first couple, I mean, it's just such an adrenaline dump. All of a sudden it's over and you're sitting there taking your gear off and you're like, what the hell even happened? And but like you hear like the running backs and stuff in the NFL say, it's like, the first year in the league, it just happened so fast. I don't even know what happened. I just got bounced around, and then you hear the guys that have been running the ball for 12 years are like, when I get the ball, the field just goes into slow motion, and that's kind of what it felt like once you got towards the end there. I mean, it was just like routine, you just been through it so many times. You have battle drills done. You just kind of know what everybody's going to do. What you're supposed to be doing, and you just get to work.
Right. So your first time, you're just kind of on autopilot and you're just reacting.
You're just trying not to screw up, and you're just, I felt like in the beginning, we had to rely on our team leaders so much more and direct us on what we needed to be doing. And, we didn't want to screw up anything. And there's guys moving all over the battlefield. You want to make sure you're not hurting your own guys, or moving into something, or you're shooting down a street and then your team's not coming out of a doorway or whatever it may be. You just don't want to get yourself in those kind of situations. But by the end of it all, we've been through it so many times. You don't really need, they would just basically talk you, direct your speed of fire. If I'm running a saw, you'd say pick it up or slow it down, and just the rate of fire and what we're trying to accomplish, and the communication just became so much smoother, and it's we became such a well-oiled machine on the battlefield.
Now, what was your team what did it consist of? Was it mainly, do they try to get like one or two new guys on each team and then have the majority of it made up of veteran guys that have done this before?
So a platoon always has a pretty basic structure in the light infantry situation that I was in. So you'd have your platoon sergeant, and you'd have a lieutenant with him. So you'd have like an E7 and a lieutenant, which would be like a brand new officer, And so those guys would be running the platoon. And then there'd be typically 4 squads. And your 4th squad was always your gun platoon or your gun team squad. And the rest of your teams were just your basic teams, which are made up, or your basic squads, which are made up of 2 teams. And so there'd be 1 squad leader, there'd be 2 team leaders, and each team then would consist of a saw gunner, a grenadier, which we always had our grenadier was our team leader as well. And then we just have 2 riflemen. So typically when we would bound and things like that, I would bound with our team leader, and he would, be shooting grenades essentially while I'm laying down cover fire with the machine gun until our riflemen could bound into a good position. And then, they would lay down cover fire while we bounded,
Yeah. What were the meals like over there? Like the MREs and shit?
Yeah. So it just depended. We were out in the field. We would typically be eating MREs, quite often, until we could get established enough where we could get a kitchen built, and then usually by then we'd be moving on to the next place and somebody would be holding that. So, when the guys were like, the best food over there, I swear was always the breakfast. They always cook good breakfast, because how do you screw up breakfast? It's eggs and meat, and stuff like that pretty much every day, and hash browns, which is phenomenal. I'm not complaining about that by any means, but most time it was like MREs, and basically you learn how to put your own spin on everything. Everybody had hot sauce with them, that was just everybody that had their own flavor that they liked, and you just kind of stuck with what you had, and you had figured out certain ways, and you swap certain things with certain people so you can make the best concoctions you could,
What was your favorite MRE and your least favorite MRE?
Oh, everybody in the world knows that the omelet is the vegetarian omelet is by far the worst MRE, and if you get that, you're just like, oh, it's the worst day of my life.
Who am I going to switch this with?
Yeah, nobody's taking that. No, nobody is taking that. You just know. You don't even ask. You don't even ask the tray, because nobody's taking that, So that was the worst by far. My favorite one was the enchilada, because you take the whole bag, and it would come with like the enchilada, which you would just typically like heat up and spoon out of there. But then it would come with like crackers and cheese, which were supposed to be eaten separately, like cheese and crackers. But then you just take all this stuff and you would just mix it into a bag, and like there'd be times where you just save crackers just waiting for that enchilada MRE to get to your hands. And they'd be like, you'd bust them out of your backpack and be like, I've been saving these crackers for this day. You have extra crackers. Like, it was a big deal, And somebody'd be like, hey, I got an extra cheese. And you'd be like, oh my God, this is going to be the greatest day ever, And then it was cool because the Afghans, they would make this bread every day, and they'd get this fire going. It'd be next to this rock and heat the rock up. And they pound out this bread on there, and they let it cook on there. And as long as you didn't watch them cook it, because their hands were always so nasty, as long as you didn't watch them cook it, it was the best bread in the world. But you just, even when they hand it to you, you just give it a little shake and hope for the best,
Just give a little shake. Like, did you cook that just, which one's your wiping hand? Did we at least like give you a wet wipe or something, please?
And it's just bad because you watch them go to the canal every morning, and you don't see any TP in the canals,
What are they? It's just a ditch that they've dug?
Yeah. That's where they all go in the morning. They all go to the ditch, in the morning, and
no privacy. So that
one by one, you see the sun comes up. You see the huts. You'll see a little smoke start coming out of the top of them, and before you know it, they all come out of their huts and head to the canal.
Have you ever had any good food over there that wasn't? I mean, like, I know they don't have cafe. I mean, I'm assuming they have cafes there. Did y'all ever go in and eat like at a local establishment? Never.
There were no local establishments there. No. This was a farm side of Kandahar.
What about the villages?
It was just farm.
Do they not have?
I mean, these villages were just a maze of mud huts. That's all it was. And I mean, they just lived out. They had no running water, no electricity. They just farmed the land, and that's all they did. They had nothing. I mean, they literally had nothing.
Of all the places in the world, can you imagine we spent all our money and resources in those places? That's crazy to think of. All over the opium fields, basically.
It's all it was opium marijuana fields, as far as you could see. And then you'd run into these grapes, they grow these grapes, and those were brutal because the walls and they were like 4 foot tall, and trying to get through them, you're just trying to climb over 4 foot walls with all this gear on, and blowing your pants apart because you're stretched out so far.
So when you say
falling on your head,
when you say farming, that's what it was, opium and marijuana. That's what they were farming.
Yeah, it was mostly all they farmed. Yeah, that's all they grew, really.
So there's fighting over the CIA and the opium.
I guess it didn't take much rain to grow opium.
Oh no, it didn't really rain much, but then when it rained, it never stopped. And thank God I came back I was on my 2 weeks of leave, and everything in our cop was flooded because we built these dirt Hesco walls around the outside, so then all the water runs down the road into our base, and then it's got nowhere to go because it's just dirt walls all the way around the outside, so it just holds it in. It's basically, it's just a mess.
I realize that modern hygiene is probably something that's fairly new. You know what I mean? The dude wipes and the toilet paper. That's when you think about how long humans have been around, like that's new, right? I just could not imagine running around all day sweating with a dirty ass. I couldn't do it.
But this just shows you the range on what you can do with the American dream, right? You look at Elon Musk, the guy develops basically the electric car and forces the rest of the industry to follow. And somebody went, I think I can wipe my ass better with something, and we should just make this thing wet. You know what I mean? That's the range of where you have to call the line to be successful.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. There's no way. I think of even in America in the 17 and 1800s, these guys are going from Maryland or whatever, and the dream is west. Let's head out west, and it's just you're shitting outside. There's no toilet paper. Then you got to get on a horse with a dirty ass.
But you had clean water.
I guess, yeah, you could take a whore bath.
Two of the worst. There's two of the best and the worst, right? Is the porta potties, and we had them around, and it is the middle of summer, and it is 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it hits you. You're like, I just wanted the sun to be down, and you just got to suck it up and get in there and get it done, I feel like Matt Robertson right now telling this kind of stories.
Right. Yeah.
And the better one was when you had to burn your own barrels, but it was wintertime. As soon as it was done getting burnt, that's when you want to get in there because then the toilet would be warm because you stick that barrel underneath you, it'd be warm.
Who has to do this? Is it some poor grunt? Somebody in trouble?
No, that was me. That was me getting to do that. That was the best job you could get. You know what I mean? I don't want to go have to help out in the kitchen and wash dishes. I don't want to. There's so many jobs that you could get stuck doing, but really, you just got to pour some diesel in there, get it going, and stir it every once in a while, and just hang out. That's not a bad gig.
That's true. Yeah.
It beats the hell out of sandbagging.
Yeah, right. Well, you had me
because all the time, every single day, you have to do cop improvement, right? You have to find something. You have to sandbag something in better. You have to fortify something better. You have to put out more concertina wire. You have to. Every single day, we did cop improvements for about 4 hours a day, every single day, because the Taliban is constantly watching you, and if you're not constantly evolving and making it harder, all they're going to do is attack your weakest point. But if every day I'm strengthening my fortress, essentially, sooner or later you're going to go, I can't attack these guys. But they just keep making it better and better every single day. So we'd fill sandbags for 4 hours. We'd do this, we'd do that, and I'm like, yeah, I'll go burn those barrels, no problem.
And like you said, it's better than washing dishes. I hate washing dishes more than anything in this world.
Worst thing in the world.
I'll cook every meal if that gets me out of having to wash one dish. I don't care. I can't
do I'm no good in the kitchen for anything.
No, I'm not either. I can get shit out of the refrigerator and I can push something in a microwave and that's it. I can't.
Man,
I could cook if I had to, maybe. But if Michelle's gone the other day. Her and her sister went out of town for a night. I went and got some chicken fried rice from a Chinese place. I wouldn't go cook. I can't cook.
I cooked with these guys, Chicken and Grinning up here. They're one of the best barbecue teams ever. They had a perfect score to Royal and Chicken, this and that. They adopted me and they let me come cook with them for weekends or whatever. I mean, I go cook with these guys all the time. They're teaching me everything they did, the process, everything exactly how they did it. No secrets. I couldn't duplicate it once. I wasn't even close. I'm just like, I just kind of had to I had the smokers, I had all that stuff. I just kind of had to accept the fact that, I just can't be great at everything, Andy. I just can't be good at everything.
There you go.
People are good at what they're good at. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is.
Shoot.
So tell me about Africa. You just got back. How long were you there for?
2 weeks. 2 weeks. It was a whole trip from like the time I left home to the time I got back was 2 weeks. It started out a long, long time ago, actually. It was right after I got wounded. I got invited on this hunt down in South Texas, and I showed up there to meet this guy named Kevin. Or I picked him up. We drove down together. Kevin had just been wounded. He got shot in the shoulder and was rehabbing and stuff. And we ended up going on this hunt together. We're hunting deer down in South Texas. Have a good time together, and we stay in touch, and see each other here and there and whatnot. And this last year now I'm at Dallas Safari Club and run into him and say hi, have a good time, whatnot. And then I end up going to Nashville to Safari Club International, run into him again. And he's like, hey, have you ever considered going to Africa? And I was like, yeah, not really my thing, don't really know any of the game over there. Ken Herbeck was a baseball legend up here and had his own hunting and fishing show. I watched him pretty much every Sunday morning. Ken Herbeck never went over to Africa. He just fished perch up on Mille Lacs, and hunted deer and pheasants in South Dakota. So I was like, that's just kind of what I grew up on. That's kind of what I knew. And the thought of how am I supposed to get all the way to Africa, in a wheelchair, and what happens when my chair gets there, or the outfitter doesn't pick me up, or if you don't get picked up by your outfitter in Arkansas, not that big of a deal, but all of a sudden you're sitting in Africa, you're going, oh, right, well, now what, So I had all these concerns, I guess. And when I was in the hospital, I was actually gifted from USSA. They gave me a trip to Africa, and I was like, I appreciate it, but I'm probably not going to go to Africa. Not my thing. And I traded for a bear hunt in northern Minnesota. I mean, that's how, that was just what I'd rather have done, So Kevin asked me at SCI, he goes, did you ever go to Africa? And I kind of explained this whole thing to him. And he's like, well, what if you went with me? So you don't have to worry about, anything happening. I'll be there to help you. We'll fix whatever happens. Not a big deal. Nobody's going to mess with us. This is a great outfitter, this and that. And I was like, let me think about it, So I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I love adventure. I'm kind of putting these false barriers in my way of things that I can't overcome, figuring out how to fly on a plane for 15, 16 hours. I can't figure that out. And I was like, I kind of called myself out on the spot, And the next day I see him, and I was like, yeah, I want to go to Africa. Let's do it. And so he introduced me to John Abraham, Metabula Safaris. Just one of the best guys I ever met in my life. He's genuinely humble. He's from South Africa. Just wants to show his appreciation for guys that have made sacrifices for this country and whatnot. And I got to meet him there and his wife, Lori, and they're just incredible people. And they said, we're going to take care of you. We'll get you over there and we'll have a good time. And I had no idea what to expect. And so when I left, I had no idea what I was going to be hunting. And right before I left, John hits me up and he's like, hey, upgrade your ticket to first class. I was like, no way, So he gave me a pod. So it was an absolute game changer on the way there. I could lay down. Sitting in a chair for that long was always so brutal. Just wore my hips out. My back was hurting so bad by the time I'd fly that long if I wasn't up there. So it was an absolute game changer being able to do that. Got to Johannesburg, had to stay there overnight in a hotel. Not being on American soil, it put me on a little bit more high alert, especially just being there. It's just a little bit more dangerous place than maybe some cities in America.
Not many.
But, it was all fine, though. We had a great guy that helped us get through the airport and everything through our travel agent. And it was just a pretty awesome experience, really. Got on a plane, went to Kimberly. Had to drive a couple hours out from there to the ranch. And got in our rooms. Everything was set up awesome. Had a ramp for me, which, I never expected anything to be that, anybody to really do anything for me. I just expect everything to be hard, and I also expect to overcome it, And got there, and there's ramps, and it was just phenomenal. The lodging was amazing. The food was awesome, but it was the hunting that was really the biggest game changer. That first night we just went out there, kind of a test run. They put me up on top of the truck in what I would consider like this turret. And I could see everything from on top of the truck. Awesome. And we just went out there, and we first got out there, it was just surreal because I'm like, what is that over the trees there? And I'm just trying to figure out what kind of bird it is. And I was like, wow, that bird just moved super weird. Like it just hopped across the top. And I realized it's a giraffe's head just sliding across the top of the tree. And I was like, oh, wow. And he just steps out, and it's just like, wow. It's just surreal. You don't even know what you're looking at first a lot of times. It's just so big and fast. And you see rhinos running around, and, they're right up next to the truck. And it's just surreal. It just it feels like you shouldn't be there.
Yeah. What
like you're cheating the system.
Now I know that they're kind of in the middle of, would you call it a civil war?
Just
apartheid. Or
apartheid.
Yeah.
I think is actually what it's called, where they're kicking the whites out.
Right. Were the people that you were with, were they concerned about that coming their way?
I mean, there's always, they talk a lot about it. They talk just about their country, and they love the place. I mean, everybody I met there loves their country, and that's always promising. You never want to hear the people of their country say they hate their country. Everybody's super proud of their country, super proud. They also had a very strong heritage, and very proud of their lineage. And you hear about where there, everybody was always concerned, but nobody was ever felt like there was anything like was going to happen like soon,
Right.
We had a guy on the podcast that his family got ran off their farm there, and then we had we've got some locals here that are from South Africa that are working here, and they can't go back. I mean, their whole family's been they've taken everything they have. They've killed their families and friends. It's a very sad deal in a lot of situations, and some places still are pretty safe to go to. But I met a guy in Michigan on 2 weeks ago. We had dinner with a guy, and his wife had went over there with some people. And the lady was from there or something. And I told him, I said, are you scared for her? Because I would be, because it's especially from the airport to where you're going, I think is pretty sad. It's just a sad, sad, sad deal.
For me, the thing that was shocking the most, when we were traveling out to the ranch, and that was the amount of garbage, around these places, and it just was like, man, I just wish some of these places would take a little bit more pride in where they lived, and it was just like, it doesn't cost anything to pick up garbage, it doesn't take anything but effort, and that was one thing that really surprised me was some of that. But other than that, I mean, people were great. Everybody was super nice, super helpful. It was a overall great experience just being in the country, and I would recommend anybody that has an idea of wanting to go to Africa to definitely go check it out. And that was South Africa that I was in.
Yeah. So you said you landed in Johannesburg, and then they pick you up, arrange transportation to the lodge?
So no, when we landed in Johannesburg, we had to stay there for a night because we had to catch a flight the next morning out to Kimberley then, and then we had a 2-hour ride from the Kimberley then out to the ranch from there. So.
Is the ranch, is it like fortified at all, or is it just kind of out in the middle of nowhere?
No, it was insane because like around the living area there, the quarters, whatever, it's all fenced in there because you have all this green, they're watering the grass so it looks nice and this and that. And it's the greenest grass on the whole, 33,000 acres or whatever we were on. And all the animals are like, hey, I want in on some of that green stuff up there, So they have to try to keep them away from the house. You don't want literally you don't want rhinos coming up into the backyard in the middle of the night trying to get some water out of the pool or whatever, So they try to keep everything away from it in that sense that way. But once you get through that gate and you get out the back, it's just like, I was like, so what are we hunting today? And he's like, you see that mountain range over there? And I was like, yeah. He's like, we can go all the way out to that. And I was like, oh. And it was out there. So, I mean, the vastness that we had to hunt was surreal, and it's just like, you never knew what was going to be where because number one, they can do the amount of ground the game can cover is insane. And they can just go so far, so fast that you just never know where they're going to be the next day. Oh, we seen those there yesterday. Good chance they could be 25 miles away,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just walk all day, just walking,
When
it's just surreal.
You're talking about the swimming pool and the rhinos. I saw a deal yesterday. There was a guy that raised a baby hippopotamus when it was little, and he'd play with it and stuff. Well, hell, they're born, they weigh 800 pounds or something when they're little. And that sucker drowned him by accident. He would play with him all the time, and it got him in a river, and it got on top of him and just playing with him, and it drowned him.
Damn, man.
You can't make some things a pet. So, At nighttime, did you sit on the back porch at night when you were at the lodge?
Yeah, I mean the sunsets were phenomenal.
Was it,
We pretty much burned down a cigar every night.
Was it creepy sounding
and,
at night?
Say
was
again?
it real creepy sounding at night? All the different animals howling and making noises, or was it?
No, not really so much. You would pretty much. It was kind of cool because there's windmills everywhere. I think they said there was like a couple hundred windmills on that place that we were hunting. It used to be an old, way back in the day, it was a British settlement that they would be raising all their lambs out there, and sheep and that.
So it was a colonized area at one time. Did you see baboons?
No, there was none where I was at, and I don't think that there's enough big enough trees in areas like that for them where we were at. We were pretty. It was pretty high desert where I was at.
Now, what all did you get to shoot while you were there?
Oh man, it was crazy. Everything that you hunt over there, I couldn't believe how tough and resilient everything was, And the first thing I shot was a Gems buck, and man, I hit that thing so hard that first shot, and I was like, oh yeah, he's going down, and he just took off, and I was like, you got to be kidding me! I felt like I put a really good shot on that thing. And he's like, you probably did. They're just tougher than hell, and it's just tracking these things down, So that was the one thing that really impressed me was that. But I shot a Gems buck, and then I shot a golden wildebeest. Then I went and I was lucky enough to be able to harvest impala after that, I believe. It was the impala next. I'm looking it up here real quick just so I get it right. The golden wildebeest, yep. Then the impala, a blue wildebeest, spring buck, blessed buck, kudu, which was unbelievable. A red-hearted beast, a zebra, and a warthog.
That's badass.
So, yeah, it was just incredible. Every hunt in itself was its own story, and when I first got up to that Gems buck, it just kind of washed over me. And every time I get to hunt, honestly, whether it's shooting one duck, in my backyard, or it's sitting next to this Gems buck in the safari of South Africa. It always takes me back to that one moment when I was laying in that hospital bed, really wondering what the rest of my life was going to look like, what I was ever going to be able to do again, and how crushing and defeating it felt at that time to feel like I was never going to be able to give back out in the woods. If I was realistically looking at myself, not knowing what I was going to be able to achieve, up to this point, but I had no legs. My hands didn't work. I couldn't touch my own nose. I didn't have any skin on my arms. They were literally just piecing me back together. My legs were hanging wide open. They hadn't even closed those up yet. And I'm sitting here, and all I can think about is how am I ever going to hold a fishing pole again? How am I ever going to? I'll never be able to shoot a compound bow again. That's for sure. Now, I don't even have an arm. I don't how am I going to shoot a rifle? How am I going to swing a shotgun again? I'm right eye dominant. My right hand's basically gone. It's all these things would just sit there and wash over you. And that's where I always talk, I was talking earlier about building your attitude. And you're like, I just got to figure this out, and that's what it started out as, because you didn't really know I didn't even really know at that time what I was capable of. I just had to start building that confidence and momentum. And so when I'm sitting there next to that Gems buck, that's literally what's all washing over me, is thinking about those moments and that I really did it, that I pushed away an opportunity to go to Africa once because I was afraid that I couldn't get to this point right here, And really, it just taught me that in life, if you surround yourself with the right people, you can really honestly accomplish anything you really want to accomplish, And that's what happened to me. I was lucky that John Abraham put this together and gave me the opportunity to go over to Africa and to have those experiences. And it grew me as a person, my confidence grew. I know that I can go further and harder now to hunt big, game in different countries. It really just changed me in so many ways that I think I'm literally just going to write about my time in Africa and see what comes out of it.
Yeah. What's the coolest animal you saw?
Oh man, the coolest animal that I saw. Really the black rhinos, just because they're so lethal. Every time you see a black rhino, you look at it for a little bit and you get out of there. Because they talk you never seen a guy ever get off a truck without a rifle over his shoulder, because the black rhino. They will. If you're walking through the bush and you're putting a stalk on some game, and that black rhino comes across your path that you've crossed, he will do a 90-degree turn and he will start following you to hunt you down just to kill you. That is his task for the day. And they are just mean and they're angry, and at the same time, I got mad respect for him. I mean, it's his territory, and he's going to make sure that he protects it the way he wants to. And they were just fascinating. They don't look real. They're so big, they don't look real.
Really?
And they have no no predators.
The black rhino?
Yeah. So, but the poachers are what's their biggest problem
because
they're getting like $500,000 for that front horn if they saw that thing off.
No shit.
That's like, yeah. So like that. So that's why like you'll see like people darting rhinos now and literally just cutting their horn off and getting rid of it so that rhinos don't get killed.
We need to figure out a way to raise those.
Fuck that.
The poachers over there are just out of control, So
that's big business over there. Big business. I think don't they grind that shit up to make the Chinese people have hard peckers? Isn't that what that's used for? Aphrodisiac?
You got it. Yeah. You're supposed to act a little bit more, Jeff. Like you're not really sure.
No, I know. I know that. I know that's what they use that shit for.
Jeff's on it himself.
No. I've never taken a blue pill or any black rhino grind, but I did.
Right after the boss ad, next will come up the rhino horn ad.
Right? Yeah.
Sponsor the show in no time.
Somebody will reach out to us. Do males and female black rhinos do they all have that menacing fucking horn on the front of their nose?
Yeah, they do.
How much do they weigh?
Shit, I don't know.
Did you see any elephants?
Nope, not where I was at. No.
I mean, they're not as big as an elephant is. Elephants are dangerous animals too.
Yeah, I mean,
not as much as a rhino.
Charge you the most.
I've never seen a rhino in a zoo or a circus. I mean, but you don't want to jack with a big bull elephant.
So I wonder how you can tell the difference between a male rhino and a female rhino.
A penis.
Well, I know that, but just on the hoof.
Well, I'm assuming
looking at him.
If he's that big, he's probably got
There's
a pretty
a flap in the back for the males. Is what I was told.
A flap?
Yeah, like between their legs, it looks like a skin flap. That's pretty much.
That's the only way that
that's what I was.
That's the only way you can tell.
That's the sheath for the tool.
It must be. These things. I mean, I'm looking at pictures of them. They look just fucking terrifying.
Have you ever?
They are. I mean, they're legitimate. Like you see one, it gives you like you go on high alert. Like you just keep an eye on him. And you can look at him until he decides he's going to turn and look at you, and you need to start moving.
You know that you're not the big boy in the game right there. Have you ever?
Well, he's never lost a fight he's been in. You know.
Have you ever seen the hippopotamuses chase the boats on them guys in those little rivers and shit? Them fuckers can haul ass in some water.
Oh man, what a situation to be in.
Talk about helpless. I'm looking it up right now. How tall would they stand? You know what I mean? Like.
Oh, I bet they were 5-6 foot to the top of their back, at most. And they're just, but like, it looks like the legs are just like snapped on, like they're just bolted on. You know what I mean? They don't look real. Like when they move, their skin is so thick, like it doesn't move. You know what I mean? Like they don't have any, they just look solid. Like they're just built out of stone,
Did you ever see any signs of poaching while you were there?
No, they had a whole crew this place that they rode this place pretty hard, and they would circle this place and there was nobody. I mean, they use drones now. They use everything on these places, because that's how bad the poaching is. You have to be on it every night. You have a crew that's just dedicated to anti-poaching on your ranch,
Now, can they kill rhinos over there? The people that you're with, or are they protected?
Yeah, so you can harvest the rhinos. I know a lot of people more or less like to dart them, because I think darting them's a lot more affordable.
Well, I can't even imagine what size rifle you would need to take down a rhino.
The biggest one you got?
416, I think, is what was the recommended round.
I'm not a rifle guy, and I know Andy's not either, but I'm assuming that's from a 50 cal. How much bigger is that than a 50 cal?
It's not. It's be smaller in diameter.
So 50's the biggest one. Why don't they use 50s over there then?
I mean, you have to realize too, like if you hit a piece of steel with a 50 cal piece of metal, it's going to do less damage to steel than a 223. You have a surface area that's hitting as well. So you got to figure in. There's a balance there between how big the tip of your bullet is to the speed that you're actually getting out of it. There has to be a delicate balance there.
So a 416 is a lot more lethal than a 50 would be.
I mean, I don't know exactly, but that's what, I think, carrying around a 50 cal round too is a lot different than a, 416 round. You have to wait,
I don't know shit about rifles, and I'm not even embarrassed to say that.
Right.
So I don't know, but I would use the biggest sumbitch I could use to knock one of them down. I have no desire to want to shoot a rhinoceros or hippopotamus or
I
nothing
just
like
didn't know if
that.
you could do it.
Oh yeah, there's people there. I'm sure someone's paying $5 or $10 million to go shoot one of them things. I'm sure those villages have to sell some of them animals because it feeds the villages and all that money comes in, helps them villages. So I'm sure, and I don't know much about African animals. So before someone starts getting on my ass about this, I'm speaking completely blowing smoke out of my ass, but I'm assuming they're probably letting you harvest a couple every year somewhere over there. Are they?
Oh yeah. I know people do go over there and hunt them all the time, but you got to still manage the herd at some point,
Did you shoot a giraffe?
But they live to be a long time.
Did you shoot a giraffe while you were over there?
No. I would love to though. I would love to go hunt a giraffe. But
somebody I'm friends with
that was not.
just shot a giraffe over there. I saw it on the deal, and that's a big ass animal. Not just tall, they're big. People don't realize how big they are.
Is the one thing that they said is the worst thing to wound because they'll run behind. You're trying to track down this wounded giraffe, and he'll get 500-600 yards out in front of you, and he can see you coming for forever away. So you can't get close to him again after you wound him. You just got to try to keep up with them and hope they go down.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think I'd rather have a wounded giraffe than a wounded rhino.
So this guy, this professional hunter that was on my truck, me and him ended up being pretty good buddies. His name was Bangani, and he's a Zulu warrior, family, type. And this guy was apparently one of the best trackers in the country. And first thing he tells me when we get on there is how he was hunting leopards with John in the bush, and they had a wounded leopard. And he says, I'm the tracker. I'm up front. I'm supposed to just have my head down, following the trail. And my, the PH behind me's got the gun, and he's supposed to be watching out in front of me and making sure, kind of guarding me. You're following a wounded cat here. Next thing you know, his cat jumps out of the bush and attacks John, the guy with the gun. And he said the cat's on top of him and it's biting him. And he says he tries kicking it off a few times off of John, and it ends up biting him in the leg. And so he grabs the gun and he's going to break it over the cat's head, essentially. And John's yelling, not the gun, not the gun, not the gun. He doesn't want to wreck the gun. And the guy says he didn't care. So he just swung this thing, hit the cat over the head and killed it or knocked it out, And John's laying there tore up, and it was just like this crazy story, And I was like, well, at least you're not. I know if it doesn't go well out there, you're gonna hang in there. You got my back. And he said, yeah, but you don't pay my check. And so that was pretty awesome. And the craziest thing with him was I've never seen anything like it in my life. It was the most impressive thing I've ever seen. We come around this corner and we've been kind of waiting for an opportunity to get a shot at a springbuck. And these things are so skittish, and when you see them, they start running. Just forget it. I've never seen one walk. All they do is run. And so I come around a corner, and there's one right in front of me, and we had a 30-06 with us and a 375. And all of a sudden, if I have the 375 in the turret and that springbuck standing there, he's like, just use the 375, shoot him. Like it's the only opportunity we've had at one this whole trip so far. So I get lined up, I squeeze it off, and I hit this thing right in the front shoulder. And I see it, and it hits the ground first, jumps up, and starts running. But I shot the whole front shoulder right off this springbuck on the right side. So, it's bleeding good, 3 legs, but it's running faster. I can't even believe how fast this thing's running. So we're kind of following it with the truck. All of a sudden, Bangani jumps off the truck, and he's got this stick with him, and it's got a club on the end of it, And he just starts running. And, this is like rocks. Big rocks, We're talking like softball-sized rocks all over the ground out here. And this guy is running across the plain like he's running on a flat track, And he catches up to this springbuck, and he gets within about 20 yards of it. He rears up with his right arm with that stick, and he throws it like a boomerang. And it goes flying, hits the back legs of this thing, takes it down, runs over there and grabs it, right, and finishes it.
Holy shit.
And I was like, what did I just see? My mind was absolutely blown, right? I'm totally shocked. I'm looking at everybody else on the truck. I'm just like blown away, right? And I'm like, did you guys not just see that? And he's like, yeah, he does it all the time. I was like, I don't care if he does it all the time. That was the most impressive thing I've ever seen in my entire life on a field.
That is, and it's not a weak animal. So, he's running up and finishing this thing.
Yeah, he's got giant horns sticking out the top of his head. He can spear you with those, whatever. But he just takes that club, rears back, throws a perfect shot, takes its legs out. And I was like, yes, you know what I mean? Like, unbelievable. I couldn't even. blew my absolute mind. And these guys are all just like, you know, Richard's over there putting the gun away. Togo's getting the tarp out, you know. And I'm like, did you guys not just see what happened, you know? And I was just absolutely lost my shit, you know. I just couldn't even handle it.
That's John for you. You know, what are you going to do? That's what he does.
Jeez.
The thing that one of the things that really impresses me is the way that they really posed all the animals. It cannot be easy to pose a wildebeest like they did.
Oh man, not only that, but the kudu is the funniest one because the horns are so tall on it. I'll have to send the picture in so we can put it up. It's hilarious. So Togo, one of my guys, I'm sitting there behind the kudu. The horns are hanging straight up, and Togo's like spooning the kudu so he could hold the head in place so we could get the pictures right. It's the funniest thing in the world. So there's two of us in the picture.
You only see one?
Of us, you know?
Fucking trick photography, man. That's awesome.
Oh, man. So the kudu was absolutely amazing. They disappear so fast in the brush. They're so good at blending in. You literally see them tip their heads back into the brush to hide their antlers, you know, up in the trees and stuff, you know. I mean, they're just very intelligent. They know how to hide. And I just got so lucky. I caught two of them leaving a water hole, and the one that I shot, I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, my God, this is unreal. Everybody was excited. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting next to it, and they're like, yo, this thing's been missed over 6 times. 6 different people shot at him trying to get him, and nobody's hit him yet. So that was super cool.
What was the farthest shot that you made on some of these animals?
350 maybe.
That's a poke.
Oh, yeah, for sure. No, definitely. I mean, you're holding, you know, your rifle's already shooting, you know, a couple inches high, you know, at 200, you're still shooting a couple inches high, but then, you know, you're still holding out at, you get out that close to that 400, you know, you're almost holding a foot over where you normally aim, you know.
I think a lot of people have a misconception of going on a safari that you're just shooting animals, just boom, 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 drive up,
like
sit there and like an easy hunt.
No.
But you're hunting. But they don't. Most people do not understand that because I used to be the same way. I thought, oh, that looks pretty cool, but shit, how hard is that? And then I talked to friends of mine that have been on safaris and are like, fuck, it's hard hunting. It's a lot harder than you think it is. And then I read a story about a guy that was wanting to shoot a leopard, and he sat on a damn blind for hours at dark before they finally got the leopard to come in to eat the bait or whatever it was. And I have a lot more respect for that because I've learned a little more about it. But it's not an easy hunt like people think. People have never been there think it's a real easy hunt. It's hard. My question is, did you have cats where you were at?
No, I mean, there was a care or something like that. I don't remember what it's called exactly. They were around, I guess, but they're pretty hard to find.
But you weren't lions and tigers and jaguars and shit like that.
No,
or leopards or whatever it is.
No, they kind of. I think the area that I was in, they try to keep a lot of that stuff run out of there because I mean, just the sheer amount of food that they eat. You know, and they're trying to grow trophy, you know, kudu and trophy, you know, springbuck and blessbuck and you know all these different animals. And if you got lions eating, you know, 6, 7 of them a week. That starts adding up pretty quick.
You want to see a grown man shitting his pants? You put me in a fucking the brush and listen to a damn lion or tiger fucking scream. Hell to the no. That'd be the end of that deal for me. That's got to be the most terrifying moment in your life. I've seen the guys shoot the water buffaloes right at point blank range and shit. But you put me in the bush and you have a fucking lion or tiger close to me making some noise, I'm done. That scared the hell out of me.
Yeah, I guess maybe you know we have different experiences, Jeff. Probably not the most scary thing I've ever been through, but
no,
you know,
well, I can honestly say I have never, ever experienced the things you are, and as a friend of mine, it hurts my heart for the things that you've done for my country, and I could never thank you enough for what you've done and all the other soldiers I have, but I'm glad I've never had to experience that, and I'm proud that you have for me, but it breaks my heart the way that what you had to go through for me. But yeah, I've never had nothing like that. And that's what's about a combat veteran. You put a combat veteran in a shitty bar and some bitch smarts off to him. Fuck. He ain't worried about no damn guy with a knife and shit. That fucker's been in combat.
I went to a shitty bar with Jack, so I know how Jack reacts.
You almost got in a fight there too, didn't y'all? That wasn't a shitty bar. That was a gay bar.
No, it was a shitty bar before the gay bar.
One was much safer than the other.
Yes, yeah.
But one was much more fun than the other as well. And that was, I'm going to make it very clear, the gay bar was not more fun.
No, it was the bar that we got patted down in. That was the...
Yeah. So that's the joints you need to hang out in. That's where memories are made.
I was hanging out with Wyatt, who went to college in Baton Rouge, and Jack. I'm the only one that has no street cred.
I don't think Wyatt's got much street cred other than he wrestled a bunch. He could handle himself.
He went to Baton Rouge. He's been in some sketchy
LSU.
situations.
There's a lot of kids who went to LSU. He's not. I love Wyatt to death, but he's not.
Jeff,
And I know you don't have any street cred. Yes,
in Baton Rouge that he's got more than I do in Lubbock, fucking Texas. I can assure you of that.
Yes, I would give you that. And he wrestled. He was a state red champion wrestler, so he could wrestle. He can hold his own.
Nothing but fucking cowboy hats and skull tins at the bar I went to.
So Legless Wheels here, you had more faith with him than yourself.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Can you imagine?
We had a good time.
We did.
Can you imagine someone jumping on a guy in a wheelchair, though? That just blows my mind.
Might be their worst day, Jeff.
Yeah, either way. If you win, you're a dumbass, and if you fucking lose, you're a fucking loser. I mean, what else do you do? I mean, you can't win that deal.
All I know is that Willie, Matt's buddy, he will forever be a legend in that bar.
Oh, that fucker! I wouldn't want to fight Big Willie either. Whew.
No, yeah, we had the arm wrestling going on down there, and this guy thought he was hot shit, and Willie went down there and humbled him real quick, and then the guy goes, "You want to go left?" Willie goes, "Hey, that's my dominant hand. I'd love to go left. You don't want to do that.
You don't want to go left-handed with me, but I will if you want." Yes.
Oh.
So yeah.
Nix that idea real quick.
Right. Yeah. That one was even faster than the right-handed one. He tried to tell him, like, listen, this is my dominant hand, but he was too drunk. He wasn't listening. But yeah, I felt we had Willie, and Jack, so I felt good about that night.
I'm gonna tell you have you been around Maddie Robert? Did you get to go fishing with Maddie?
No, not yet.
He's going to be here on the Boss Hunt on the 18th, 19th, and 20th. You'll really enjoy. Maddie's a lot of fun. Have you been around? You've been around Maddie and Bass Classic.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. We were down at Tulsa, at the Bassmaster down there. I got to hang out with him a little bit.
He's a lot. He's a really good dude. A really good dude. He almost sunk his boat the other day.
Saw that.
I've seen that. I watched it. Yeah, seen that on he put it up on his Instagram or something like that. He had it on there, and
I talked to him.
Man, just if it's not for guys like him, that can just. They're doers, he's just a doer. Get it done. It doesn't matter whatever it's got to do, like changing that prop out and everything, it's just, when a guy just jumps in and starts doing, there's just guys that'll stand around and go, I don't know what to do. This isn't going right. And they'll just stand there and, at least Matt's like, we just got to try something. We got to do something here to get out of the situation. And he saved some people that day.
He called me going back from that the other day, and he cracks me up just talking to him. He's one of the people that makes me laugh on the inside. I mean, there's a lot of funny people out there, but boy, I don't know, something about him. I wish I'd have grown up with him. God damn, I'd have laughed. I would have had a lot of fun.
In the last 5 years, I used to never wear a life jacket out on the water ever, And then I bought one of them life jackets, that are flat, and then when you hit the water, you can pull the string if you need to, or if the water will break it, And I was just thinking, with my situation and everything, I go down the dock. What happens if I just drive off the dock on accident, or somebody pushes me and I roll off? It's on accident, throwing something off, or whatever happens, my wheelchair malfunctions, or all of a sudden you're out there on the lake and something like that happens, and so, it's probably been 3-4 years now. Every time I go on the water, I got a life jacket on now.
I would. Water scares me. I'm not a strong swimmer.
I can't swim at all. I'm just like a damn barrel in the water or a rock. I swim like a rock straight to the bottom.
Well, you got a disadvantage. I can swim with my legs. You're kind of screwed on that deal, so you're all arm strength.
Be some dolphin tail action going on over here at the movie.
Buy you one of those little deals on the back of you.
Nub flipper.
Now, it was springtime in Africa, wasn't it?
Yeah. So when we got there, it was 30 degrees, and by the time we left, it was over 100 degrees.
Oof.
It was a big swing, and I'll tell you what. I was more prepared for the 100-degree weather than I was the 30-degree weather. I should have brought some warmer clothes in the first couple of days. Oof, it was chilly.
Rough.
Yeah, I just wasn't anticipating. You see 30 degrees, you're like, oh, that's just for an hour in the morning. I'm pretty tough.
I'm from Minnesota.
But all of a sudden you're sitting there and that wind's hitting you at about 15 miles an hour in the face, and plus you're driving and you're just like, I put chapstick on 10 times in my life. Second day I came in, my lip was just cracked wide open. I never bleeding everywhere. I'm like, geez, it's just, I just would never experienced the wind and how dry it was. So dry in that wind, it just cut you in.
Yeah. Now tell me about your wildebeest, because these things look huge also, and they're also dangerous too, right?
Yeah. So the golden one, we seen him. I didn't even see him. Richard's like, oh, there's a golden wildebeest right there. He was some Cape Buffalo, and we kind of got around on him, but he's seen us, so he was head on with us. He just kept looking at us, and he wouldn't really give us a broadside shot. And Richard says, if you feel confident in it, you think you can get it in there. He said, just sneak it underneath his chin there and hit him in the chest. Just we had a pretty good angle, So squeezed it off and hit him, and he jumped and spun and took off and kind of mirrored him while he's walking running through the trees pretty good. Went through this, going down beside the trees there, and he came out to this clearing, and I put another round in him and hit him on the run, luckily, and he went down, and you don't realize how big they are till you get to them. You know, it's just hard to comprehend till you're sitting there next to it, and you're like, dang, I ain't even the size of this thing's quarter. You know what I mean? And it's just phenomenal, and they're just amazing creatures. And the black wildebeest was my favorite. I never got to harvest one of those, but they are so fun to watch. They act like a puppy all the time. They're jumping and twisting and running, and they're snorting and like a bull would, you know. And they're just so animated, and they're just absolutely nuts. You'll just see them. One will take off out of the herd, and he'll run 100 yards one way, and he'll go out there, jump around, turn around, spin, and then just run right back. And you're like, what is going on? You know, they're fun to watch, you know?
Yeah. And then how did you pick out this the blue wildebeest? Was he by himself?
Yeah, he kind of came to us. Yeah, he came to us. So we come around this corner, and all of a sudden he just stood up. He just stood there for a minute. Richard's like, he didn't even have to pull his binoculars up. He was pulling the gun out right away. He's like, this is definitely a shooter. He's just an old bull stud all by himself. And when we got up to him, he didn't have any teeth left in his mouth. He didn't have one bottom tooth left in his mouth. He had chewed everything right down to nothing. And he was such an old bull. And I mean, I would rather take the oldest bull that I can find than the most perfect bull out there, you know, honestly. I mean, I love harvesting those old mature bulls that have exceeded their prime and are perfect to harvest. You know, those are the ones that I'm after every single time.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it's going to be a shitty end for that bull. That bullet is way more of a blessing than just sitting out in South Africa rotting away.
But same thing though, Andy. I hit him with the first one. I mean, we were 150 yards, maybe 200 at most. I hit him with that first one right behind the shoulder, perfect spot, and he just kept going. You know, he had to put another round in him. He'll catch up to him, put another round in him. I mean, I just can't express how tough they were. And it's just like, I could feel like I could just relate to him. You know, that one just got a bullet in him. He just keeps going, you know, he's just going to keep going. It just shows the heart of those true animals out there and what it really takes to survive. And it's just inspiring, honestly.
What did they do with the meat? Do they give it to the village, or what do they do?
So we got to eat some of it. You know, we took a loin out of everything that we ate, and cooked everything. I would say my Impala was the favorite of everything that we ate, and then the Gemsbuck was really good, and the wildebeest was really good too. One of the animals, the other guy shot an eland, and the guy made puff adder for us. Puff adder is they take the large intestine, clean it out, and they put a heart, the liver, and the kidneys inside the large intestine, tie it off, and grill it. And tried it, and it's way better than you ever could imagine. It was damn good.
Better than it sounds?
Way better than it sounds. Yeah, I was like, all right, I'm going to do it because, you know, everybody else is going to try it. I'm not going to be the guy that doesn't try it. And then I thought, hey, you know, pretty good. You know, if they pass that stuff around, I might take another piece.
Not going to lie, I thought a puff adder was a fish.
I thought it was a snake.
Yeah, that's what so I think it's named after a snake, you know, like, because you take the large intestine and then stuff it full of all the you know, so it's the liver, the kidneys, and the heart and all that. And, you know, he showed us how to dissect the heart and how to wash out the large intestine and all this and all that. Like, they used everything, you know, everything that we shot except for zebra, because they have a different style stomach. I mean, these trackers, they would take every single organ out of it. They said their favorite was the stomach lining. They would slice it up real thin, and they would boil it, and then they would fry it and put it in soup. That was their favorite way to eat it. And they kept every one that we shot.
So puff adder is basically haggis.
I guess.
I think that's what haggis is. They take the sheepskin, but they put rice and blood sausage in there, and they mix up, I think, kidneys. I think haggis, that's all it is too. They call it offal. Is the name of this stuff that I think it tastes like shit. That's why it's awful. But that's what they call it, is offal, and that's kidneys, liver, intestines, and all that shit. And they put it in the sheepskin stomach with rice.
That was the wildest thing that I ate over there. But the best thing that I ate over there was, you ever heard of mulva pudding?
Mm-mm.
Oh man, it's this little like square of, it's something like a bread, you know, like it almost looks like banana bread, but it doesn't taste like bananas. I don't know what kind of bread it is. There's a little square in there, and then they pour this like custard all over it, and it's warm. And that was probably my favorite dessert over there. Or they made a blueberry homemade ice cream, and they put it on top of a waffle, warm, and then they had some local syrup there, and they drizzled that over the top of it. Forget it. I'd take another one if I had it, you know?
Yeah.
But that mobile pudding, you got to look up the instructions on that and have that. I mean, that's something that everybody needs to experience once, you know?
The wildebeest, is it? I mean, it looks kind of like a cow. Does it taste like beef?
No, it's definitely got its own taste to it. For me, it tasted more like it was honestly one of the closest things that I had to tasting like a Nilgai antelope. You know, and I don't know if you ever had one of those, but that when you get that Nilgai in your mouth, it's just incredibly satisfying, and it just saturates all your taste buds with like everything you're looking for.
I've never. I would assumed beef just by looking at it.
And then them springbuck were really good. You know, it's kind of like you think like, you know, your normal animals that look good would probably be good, you know. And like I said, that Impala though, that was I thought was so good.
What are these animals eating over there? Because I mean, I'm not seeing any like vegetation, or are these people got food? They got food plots out?
No food plots. This is 100%, you know, natural safari, you know, out there. The only thing that they do is maintain the windmill, so there's water out there for them, you know. And a lot of scrub brush, little, you know, there's grassy areas they can get into, but pretty much everything foraged is just that grass and brush, you know. There's and the thing is, every bush out there has stickers all over it and just trying to mess you up. You know, it's hard to get around out there. It is brutal.
Yeah. I saw there was a video. There was a camel. Have you seen the video where they're feeding cactus to the camel and the camel's just like eating it like it's no big deal? And then they give it, I can't remember what they give it, and the camel spits it out. But you're like, oh, it was a lemon. They
didn't like the lemon though.
Hated the lemon. They have cactus. They have like these cactus that are kind of like a softball, and it's got all these thorns on it. Camel runs up. They feed the camel the cactus, and it just fucking eats it like no problem. And then they stick a lemon at the end of the skewer, and he eats that, and he gets like, he breaks it, and all that juice goes in his mouth, and he just fucking shakes his head, spitting that shit out. Hates lemon.
But stickers don't.
They
bother
said the
him.
giraffes over there would have like just thorns all the way up and down their tongues, you know, all the time. So they'd be stripping them trees with the thorns on it. He said over time they just sit there and spit them out like it was no big deal, but you know, they just stripped them thorn bushes and everything right at the leaves right off them.
Huh. It's an amazing place, and what'd you say, 33,000 acres?
Yeah, I think that's what we were hunting. Yeah, something like that.
That's a big swath of land.
5 square miles.
Yeah.
So I mean,
it was huge.
That kind of puts that high fence narrative to rest. Because you know, I'm like Jeff. That's what I always thought. Like, oh, I'm going on safari. Well, you're shooting pets basically, but it's not that at all.
There's that 50 square miles.
Yeah, you try to find a shooter in 33,000 acres, you wear yourself out.
Yeah.
I'm confused on my math. I think that's 5 square miles, but it might be 50. It can't be 50. It's got to be 5 square miles.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's right. 5 square miles.
I don't know.
Not good at math.
So, can we talk about your book?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
your new one.
About it, yeah.
You got a release date coming out for it yet?
No, we're right there. We've finishing up our final edits right now. Waiting on one more piece, and we're gonna turn it out. I'm really excited to announce that I've taken the time to write another book. And when I was writing all these notes about my hunting experiences and stuff like that, and it was such a pivotal thing for me laying in that hospital bed. And one of the main things that drove me to get out of there, and I realized how much about life I've learned of hunting in the outdoors, and how much it's changed me as a person and turned me into a better person, honestly, and how I could help other people understand the outdoors the way that I've seen it and share it through my lens. And so hopefully I try to point out some of the important things too, like conservation, and making it a purpose. We all want to go out and hunt, but if we don't take the time to make sure that we have somewhere to hunt, then how are we going to leave a legacy? Where are we going to hunt? We need to start thinking about these things a little bit more consciously, I think.
Well, I've had the pleasure of reading it. It's a very good book, and I love the way that you describe, how important the outdoors is to you and how, like, it truly is medicine for you.
Yeah. I mean, it really was. I mean, that was the one thing that, for me, getting outside, it's where I wanted to push myself, right? You can mope around the house all day long, and it becomes easy to get around the house. And whatnot. But if I want to get better at everything in life, I had to find ways to push myself and to go further and to do more things. So, to go out in the woods and figure out how to cock my bow back, and for my crossbow, and making myself transfer in and out of deer blinds, into places that I would never transfer into before. And if I can jump into that deer blind, now I know I can jump into anything else outside of the hunting world. But it's hard to find that motivation a lot of times to do it and not in situations that you just aren't excited about, right? So if I'm excited to go out in the deer blind, I'm going to find a way to transfer myself into that deer blind. And that's where I did a ton of my healing. And then you get into the sitting out in the woods, in the mental side of it all. There's times where I really needed to be alone with my thoughts out in the deer blind, and it didn't really matter what walked out in front of me because I was in my head figuring things out, and I'm alone and I have no phone service. I have no distraction. It's just me and my God sitting out there in that deer blind, and I can hash out all the things that I want to hash out. And the minute I crawl out of that deer blind, I'm ready to go take on the world again, and I figure some things out, and there's times where, I've been sitting in the duck blind and I could turn to my left or my right and I could tell my buddies that, hey, I'm struggling right now with X, Y, or Z, and I just don't really need anything from me. I just need to get it off my chest, or what do you guys think I should do in this situation? Because I don't feel like something's going right here, And I always say, if you can't share the things with the people that you're out there in the woods with, then who can you share them with? And you always got somebody in the woods with you if you believe in the same God that I do.
Well, and just people always, they get stuck in the house and then they don't feel like going out and doing anything, and it's just getting out there is a major win. You know what I mean? You don't have to kill anything, you don't have to see anything, but just getting off the couch and getting something done can be the positive traction that you need to get out of whatever you're in.
And this is what I live for. I really do. If I have a choice to hunt or do anything else, I want to hunt every single time. I just want to be out there, and it doesn't necessarily mean just pulling the trigger. It could be anything to do with hunting, and just being out there in nature, in the outdoors. I'm so excited to get down there with you guys here for the boss hunt. I mean, I've never gotten a chance to rip a round off at a speckle belly. I hope I get a chance, and something I've never been able to do. And I know that it's cool that maybe I'm going to get to experience that with you on my first time, and it's at the rest of my life, whenever anybody ever mentions speckle belly, I'll think of you, because that's the first time I ever got to shoot a speckle belly. That was with Andy Shaver. That's pretty cool,
I think I'm guiding y'all.
You're fucked.
But you know what I mean? It's just when you have those experiences for the rest of your life, then every time you hear that, you'll think of that situation. Every time I think of somebody mentions a Gems buck, I'm going to think of Vlam and Togo and Bangani and my buddy Kevin that were with me that day. And heck, I shot that Gems buck. I was 35 years old. Hopefully I'm a 70-year-old man telling somebody about that first time I went to Africa. And that's the cool thing about hunting is you never forget.
Yeah. Tell about fucking John taking the back legs out of that one thing.
Yeah, Bangani. Yeah. Oh man,
what a story.
No, but I mean, there's just so many lessons that we can learn from the outdoors, and there's things that we can appreciate about it. And I just hope that I can give people a different perspective of just because of the situations that I've been through, I view things a little bit differently, and hopefully I can share that perspective with others.
Well, it's a very good book, and I'm excited for when it finally releases, so that
we'll be hopefully here in the next week or two we'll be doing a pre-sale, and we'll be shipping them out by the end of the year.
Oh, so it's that fast. Like you're here.
Oh yeah. Like we'll only probably pre-sale for 2 or 3 weeks, and they should be shipping.
Oh, so badass! That'll be a great Christmas present for people, stocking stuffers and stuff.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. To be, I just hope that other people read it and they can appreciate it for what it is, and they can take something out of it and carry it with them, into the woods the next time they go out there with a different point of view.
And listen, people need to read this thing cover to cover because there might be a little blurb in there from yours truly.
Oh, yeah, cover to cover would be important for your section.
Right. That's right.
I thought, the Big Honker podcast is it's something that I do every week. There's not many things that I do every week, but I listen to this podcast every week. It feels like you become a family. You hear people on here again that you listen to, and you see somebody's posts online about somebody, and you're like, man, I feel like I know that guy, but I've never even met him, just because I've heard him on the Big Honker podcast before, and you bring so many people together and all kinds of different walks of life. And I love that you feel like you get to sit down with you guys and everything's unfiltered on here. It's just straightforward. It's just no bullshit. And, you know, people have no problem saying, no, that ain't right.
Yeah.
You know, too, you know, just calling people out on their shit, you know, and coming on here and telling stories. And it's one of my highlights of my week every week, you know, it's like, man, I got a list of phone calls I got to make, but I'm going to listen to Big Honker the whole way I go there, you know, and I want to get this done more importantly, you know. So, you know, with all the cool experience we've had, you know, and whatnot, I thought, you know, the perfect way to end this would be with a little bit of Andy at the end and my favorite tagline, you know, love you, bye, watch for deer.
We appreciate that very much. Jack, thank you so much for being on with us. We look forward to seeing you in about 3 weeks. It's about a month away, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
About a month. Send me some cold weather, please.
No, you don't want it. It'll be there for you. No one will go away.
I hope it gets here soon.
Thank you, Jack. We'll
I look forward to getting down there with you guys. Thank you so much for having me on.
We'll see you here next month. All right. See you.
Bye.
The great Jack Zimmerman, cool dude, great attitude. I mean, just about everything. He's a blast to be around.
Wills is infectious. He's a good dude.
Yep.
So, thank y'all for listening to us. I got December 16th, 17th, and 18th. I got some openings. We're ready for this election to get over with and get things back to normal again. Anyways, school time. Want to bring some kids on a hunt. I got those days open. Got a few more dates in December, and I got a couple of weekdays in November left. Thank y'all for listening to us. God bless you. Have a great weekend. I also got 2 deer hunts left. Still picked up new property. I have some really good deer this year. I got 2 deer hunts left. Holler at us if you need anything. Thank you. God bless you, and have a great day.
Love you. Bye. Watch for deer. And check out all of our sponsors. Go check out Hemp Hill Farm. Use our promo code BHP. Helps with any ouchies that you might be having. Check out Pacific Calls. Use our promo code there. BHP25. 25% off for your entire shopping cart, whatever. Boss Shot Shells, Dive Bomb Industries, Ducks Unlimited, Bull and Briar Leather. They got a lot of cool stuff going on over there. Dirty Duck Coffee, Shin Gear, Looking Glass Podcast, Lucky Duck, Double T British Kennels, Mossberg, MLR Graphics, Stanfield Outfitters, Mallard Bay, and Mitch Hall.